function return types. So what are the function return types? Technically, we discussed about why do we need return type for a function, and how do we define the return type, and without any return type. One simple example we saw with that options. Later, we are going to use them in our Angular regularly. So here in the language, we need to understand how it actually works. So this is one example we learned. Yeah. And one more point we discussed is that generally a void function can also have a return keyword. The intention of the return keyword in a void function is to terminate the execution at a specific point. So whatever the code we write after void, you can see that anything that you return after this, it simply says that unreachable code detected. That means the compiler is unable to reach to that particular code and execute the code. That's what actually written. Yeah. Next, important, we have to know about function is when we are working with functions, we should know about the function constructor. Actually, in our programming in future, we need to construct a function dynamically. So that means not just having predefined function. A function can be constructed dynamically. A function can be constructed dynamically. That means dynamically you can create a function and configure the functionality for the function. It is possible, and that is possible by using a function constructor. That means we can use a function constructor in order to construct a function that creates the function and its reference dynamically. So how we can create a function dynamically? What is the function constructor? That means Typescript provides function constructor. So which allows to build a function dynamically. It allows to build a function dynamically. So dynamically, as per the requirement and situation, we can create the functions. But how dynamically created, in an example only we can see that. Here, how it is created, let's see the point. Dynamically function is created. That means we have a function constructor. As we simply use a function constructor. I want to create a new will allocate memory dynamically for a function uppercase F, and this function constructor will have the function arguments. That means I am using A, okay, comma, I am using B, and comma, I am using, so it return A plus B. Like this, we are writing a construct. So if it is accepting all in a string format. That means those string arguments you can pass dynamically into the function later when we are working with application. That means a function can be configured and created dynamically according to the situation and according to the requirements. When we are not sure about the parameters and the return type to happen for a function, but we need a function, then we can use a function constructor and keep the function constructor so that it can dynamically accept your values and it can configure. So dynamically, how that we can see through Angular example only. But here, how this function constructor, what is the name of this function then? So that means it should have a reference name because it is just loading into memory and it is using these parameters. Then how we can configure this? That means we need to define a name. We need to define a name. Name is nothing but here we defined a name as a var, and the function name is add is equal to, it will use the reference for this. That means we constructed a function with a specific functionality, but all the arguments and the functionality must be written as a string. So now we can access this function by using the reference of add. So here we are designing some class demo, and in that we have a print function. And here we are just defining console.log addition is equal to, we have to call that add function, which accepting the parameters, so 10, 30, and it is returning that value, returning the value. So let's create an object for this demo. Obj is equal to new demo and obj.print. Right. So now let's run this and see. And here the function is constructed. And here we are defining, so just tsc demo.ts and node demo.js, and it is working fine, right? So a function can be constructed by using a function constructor. Dynamically, functions need to be constructed according to the situation and the requirements. Instead of having a predefined functionality of a function can be specified dynamically. That is what the ability of a function construct, right? And how to define it? So a syntax. Generally, we need a reference. We need a reference is equal to new function. And we need to define the arguments here. So we need to define the arguments. I given like a rest parameter. That means it indicates that multiple values can be passed into it. So example, this is a simple example of function construction. How we are constructing a function and how we are using the function. So while working with the functions, one more important option is the function construction. Yeah. Next, another important point about